this meeting to order. This is a special commissioners budget workshop meeting on March 22nd, 2023, following our regular meeting in the commissioner room. Are we recording?
Yes,
Should
we
have
are.
asked you that first. Roll call, please.
Director Carney?
Here.
Commissioner Fantasia? Here. Commissioner Hayden?
Here.
Commissioner Space?
Here.
Deputy Director Yardley?
Here. Number 3 is moment of silence and salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For the public statement, pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975, adequate notice as defined by Section 3D of Chapter 231, PL 1975, has been made by regular mail, such notice being submitted on March 19th, 2023, from the Administrative Center of the Sussex, County of Sussex, located at 1 Spring Street, Newton, New Jersey, to the following: New Jersey Herald, the Star Ledger, is also posted on the bulletin board maintained in the Administrative Center for public announcements and has been submitted to the Sussex County Clerk in compliance with said act. Number 5 is approval agenda.
Motion?
Motion. Motion.
So moved.
Commissioner Fantasia.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Abstain. I'm sorry, oppose, abstain. No executive session. Number 7 is proclamations, certifications, presentations. There are none. Number 8, public hearings. There are none. Number 9 is public session from the floor. This public session is for those wishing to make a comment of 3 minutes or less regarding an agenda item. Please line up at the microphone, state your name, municipality, and agenda topic for the record. I get a motion to open the floor to the public.
So moved.
Commissioner Fantasia, Commissioner Hayden seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, carries. Is there anyone here that wants to have a public comment on agenda topic only?
Anyone? Either?
Going once, going twice? Come on up.
I'm partial deaf.
Oh, me too, trust me.
I would just like, I'm sorry, I'm Glenn Hall from Sanderson Township. I would just like to point out that I hope you consider during this budget that maybe you take attrition into factor. For as employees leave, you don't have to hire somebody right away. It would help the budget, I do believe, because as a taxpayer, I just see my yearly increases. Quite frankly, it's getting gross. And I can relate that in my township going way back, we never had a municipal tax. And the year I challenged that, when they initiated our municipal tax, oh, it's only $40. Well, now it's 10% of the county budget. And we only have like 20 miles of roads in my township. I mean, we have hardly anything. So it's become a burden for just to sustain itself, the township. So I'm hoping that this county will take consideration about attrition as employees leave. I think that's a very good thing to think about, because if we're getting along without an employee after he leaves, I think that's something to really think about. We don't have to hire right away. I'm sure there's going to be employees that need to be replaced, but I mean, there's going to be employees that maybe they don't need to be replaced as it goes along, as things get better and work faster. And the other thing is I hope this county does not start investing in its activities into this ESG, environmental social governance, because that is not a sound practice. We're looking now at banks that are failing because they did. We're looking at banks that, Silicon Valley Bank, $73 billion or million, I don't know what it was. I think it was $1 billion was given to Antifa. I may be wrong on the billion or million, but it was an astounding number of money. And that's a lot of money that was just going away. And this is going to come down to the taxpayers eventually to pay this out. And there's like 60 billion maybe, or 600 billion through 4 other banks given to the same thing. Now, that's environmental social governance. I don't care what it is. And so you got to consider this, spending your money conservatively. That's what I'm asking. I appreciate it if you would, put that in your mind as you think about this, because it would be good practice. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Once, twice.
Motion to close?
Motion to close. Commissioner Yardley, have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hayden, any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 I'm sorry. Aye?
Aye.
Okay, sorry. I got bad ears too. Abstain, carries. Commissioners' comments. Commissioner Hayden, you have anything? Good.
Let's get to the
Commissioner
meat and
Space,
potatoes.
Should I comment now or later?
For your commissioner's comment?
Yeah, I could comment now. I consider myself very conservative. I take into consideration everything, you know, as a small business owner. Before I spend, I have to budget. I look into everything with the inflation, 8%. I mean, obviously, we're not gonna put an 8% budget out there on the taxpayer. I would like to see this budget kept as low as possible. I want to be able to retain the employees. I do think when some positions are, you know, not filled, that we don't need them to be refilled. But it's not in every department. We are a short road department. We need to fill those positions. And I'm hoping that we can come up with a budget that keeps the county healthy moving forward. I'm looking at not only this year, but the next, you know, say 10 years. You know, we're not all going to be sitting at this board, say in 10 years, but we don't want to be the commissioner board that they look back on and say, boy, that 2023 board left us in a bad spot. So that's just, I hope we can come up with the right thing, do the right thing for the people, the residents, the taxpayers, the employees, and the county. That's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Fantasia?
Not gonna get into the nuts and bolts of, you know, we're about to get into it, but what I will say, and Jill, you kind of sparked that thought, everybody up here on this board inherited an incredible amount of debt and poor relations with the employees, underpaid employees, and astronomical debt. And coming on the board in 2019, along with Commissioner Josh Hertzberg, freeholder Josh Hertzberg at the time, I believe Herb Yardley was the director of the board that year. And we worked with the Serenellis to do some referendums with no bonding for elective projects, no quirk projects, none of that without voter approval. We capped ourselves $10 million. Each year we committed to paying down the debt at a gradually increasing rate, and we took what was proposed by the former board before we were here at a 35-year debt reduction plan, and insultingly a 50-year debt reduction plan by our predecessors, and we cut it to a 10-year debt reduction plan, which we this year had the benefit also of ARPA funds. So we were able to actually borrow $5 million less this year. So we did not even hit our $10 million cap. We borrowed half that amount, and were able to fund money that was returned, and rightfully so, from the federal government for the crippling shutdowns they did to all of us. And we are definitely going in the right direction. So I know this meeting isn't about the capital budget, which deals with our capital projects and debt, but this board has put a significant debt in the past significant dent past 5 years to our debt. That's all
Thank
for
you.
right now.
Thank you. Deputy Director?
I think tonight, Bill Hayden and I had an opportunity to talk to a couple of departments, and we found savings in two areas. One was the health department, and a substantial one in engineering, which we'll explain once we get into the budget, where we believe, what was the number, about a $400,000 savings? $350,000 savings by just moving some people around. So, and doing some changes. So we'll talk about that, and I think together we'll be able to get this number to a reasonable amount for the county, working together.
Can I just ask, was that another savings from the meeting, additional savings with the health department?
No.
From the meeting you met
Well,
with
let's
me?
just continue with our
Yeah,
comments. So we're gonna get
that's-
into that. Let's just,
Different,
Okay.
additional
Stick with our comments.
savings.
is that it, Commissioner?
That's it.
Okay.
That's it, we're good.
And I just have one quick, because we're gonna be going back and forth for a while. I understand that we have a lot of vacancies for the 2 years that I've been here, I've spoken to a lot of, a lot of employees, a major amount of employees, and just because we've been doing the job doesn't mean people haven't been busting their butts more than they should have to, and/or could do a better job. You know, especially with the DPW, extremely with the DPW, probably because I understand their jobs more. You know, being safe is important, as Ron pointed out earlier. Getting that money back, that $24,000 back for not having workman's comp claim, that's a big deal. That's $24,000. You know, when I go to the DPW and they tell me they can't even mow the lawn because a guy called out sick or was on vacation, and they don't have enough people to hold paddles, they can't go to work. They don't do anything. There's nothing for them to do. Now, is there things that we can look at as a year progresses, or if you guys have some ideas today? Listen, I'm open to listening. You know, I'm not here saying I'm better than anybody else. You all have one vote. But what I will tell you, when you keep, your word is your word. I'm like that woman who came in here from Horizon. When I tell everybody that, you know, our employee services are going to get better, and we're going to give you as much as possible without breaking the budget to our unions, that's my word. And I don't go against my word. I will be the lone ranger if I have to be. That doesn't matter to me. That's all you have in life. So just respectfully, just keep that in the back of your head. No politics. Let's do what's right for our employees and our county. So moving forward, I'm hoping, and I think we can, not have to have pizza here tonight and get this budget at least ready for first reading April 12th. You wanted the pizza.
What kind of pizza?
I was gonna try pineapple in the ham. I was gonna try the pineapple.
Pineapple.
All right.
No, it's
Oh,
done.
I'm
When's it
sorry.
done?
One more thing I do have to read. I know you guys all get this from County Clerk Jeff Parrott.
Yes.
I deal with Jeff a lot. I don't know if you all get to read it. He actually sends this to my house because I tell him I don't get my mail here or actually ever go in my office. But I just want to read this that way, just for the record and everybody out here. And this was to Elka, but we all get CC'd on it. Please find enclosed January 2023 recording figures. The decrease posted is less than that of December 2022. However, as indicated in past correspondence, market conditions have deteriorated. Home prices for February posted their first year-over-year decline as surging mortgage rates weakened the housing market. Skyrocketing home sale prices over the last few years are not sustainable as mortgage rates rise from historic lows. The clerk's office has seen a decrease in revenue for the month of January in the amount of $168,000, $57.30. The total decrease as of January 31st, 2023 is $356,339.64. Anticipated monthly losses will continue until the Fed changes course. Sincerely, Jeff Parrott. Now, he sends us that month to month. We had a record year 2 years ago, and it has not been the same. So that money comes back to us. You know, even traveling. You know, people get passports. He makes money every transaction. There's a little money that comes to us. When you don't have any money, you don't travel. You know, you don't need a passport. So it's something else that we have to look at. We want to use fund balance, and we want to keep our taxes low. There's no one up here that's going to say we don't want to keep it low, right? I love to cut them. That's our goal. That's what we get elected for. But we have to look at this for the next 3 years, right? And besides what's going on here in Hampton, there's not much building. So those ratables, they're slim to none. One more thing, I just remembered. So anyway, moving on. Approval, number 11 is approval of consent agenda. There is none. Number 12, approval of minutes. There is none. 13, approvements and or resignations. There's none. 14, resolutions. There's none. 15, awards of contract change orders and bid. There's none. 16, financial. 2023 budget review. I guess that's where we'll start. Again, you heard my spiel. I just want, what I would like to do, if you guys are good with it, we'll go in our pecking order of how we voted, which was, I don't have that in front of me, I think it was me, Dawn, help me out, Christina.
Yeah, Carney, Fantasia, Hayden, Space, Yardley.
Let's see. I don't have that. All right, so again, you heard my spiel. I don't have much more to say. We'll go around the room, see where you guys, I know you guys worked this week, as Herb said, to figure out where we can cut a little bit more. So we'll go in that pecking order. Dawn will go first, because I really don't have anything more to say. And then we'll go that way, and then we'll look at the end, see where we're at, if Elka's gonna keep track, where we've cut to. Well, right now, just for everybody's information, we are at 1.48. last time we left off. All right, so we're gonna basically start there, and see what we end up with. And hopefully we can all agree on something. Sound good? Does that work for everybody? Good? Okay, Don, you're up.
Well, the first thing I had asked, I had a copy of this last week in Elko, but I asked for copies to be made just for everyone's ease of reference. Thank you. What I had asked for was a list of all of the vacancies by department, the number of vacancies in that position, the salaried amount, and then what the amount would be for half the year and what the amount would be for 9 months of the year for hire. Because as you know, we are already in March, almost April, right? So by the time everything gets pushed through, we put out, the advertisement for the positions, et cetera. By the time somebody is onboarded, et cetera, we're really looking at 6 months. Now, that's a double-edged sword. That's, of course, knowing that these positions go on in perpetuity. So although we may budget this year for 6 months of a position, maybe even 3 months of a position, that does not mean that the following year, the full salary and benefits for a full year need to be realized. So in keeping with the thoughts of, Commissioner Space and Carney talking about a full year, in subsequent years rather, that, we can't be the board that is looked back on to say, what did you do, in any given year. We're faced with incredible challenges this year, again, with soaring inflation. The amount of costs for health insurance, for benefits, the state continually raises. You heard unfunded mandates. This is an exercise in frustration. So I want to take a look at this first. And it's funny when you had said engineering for the both of you, because on my copy, I had here marked with little hatchet marks next to it. We do have in the engineering department some questions that I had regarding civil engineer, trainee traffic engineer, supervising engineer, and principal civil engineer. Bumping down to the legal secretary, under that we have 2 keyboarding clerks, keyboarding clerk 1 and 2. I was privy to the conversation with the prosecutor's office when they had come in to the budget hearings back and forth, or budget presentations. We do know that we did have a session at one point where it was explained to us some of the holes there. I did not at all dig through the actual boots on the ground, the truck drivers, everything that has to do with the actual road department. I think that, there are some sacred cows that should remain sacred cows. We have heard nothing but, complaints and practical begging, to the point where we almost had to consolidate garages was one of the plans, just because we simply did not have the staffing. And that was twofold, from salaries, it was salaries, and then it bled out into municipalities, et cetera. So I did not touch that at all. But I did have the question, first and foremost, for these positions for civil engineer, traffic engineer, supervising engineer, and principal engineer, is there any consolidation possible for those? And I'm hoping that Bill or Herb have some color on that issue. And then moving down for keyboarding clerks, we have 2. Are 2 a necessity? Is there any leeway with that? And then for all of these positions, were we advised that there would be any hold, any delay? Is it possible to delay onboarding of any of these individuals moving forward that I've highlighted? So that's issue 1. My second issue was I had asked for homestead. Now, as we know, Warren County had sold a multitude of buildings back in the day. And that is actually where they're pulling from. That's how they're able to keep where they're at. The money will run out at some point, because it's not a renewable resource when you sell these buildings, but they actually were able to reap the benefits of selling off a significant amount of buildings. I think they have 3 buildings or something like that that remain as property of the county. So I do understand that advantage there. Back, I think when Parker was a freeholder here, he was involved with the sale of the homestead. I know the balance in that account is $4,114,500. $3.5 million taken from the library. It cannot be used for general recurring expenses, only one-time purchases. So we've discussed that. We do know that some of these funds are also earmarked as we move forward when we talk to the sheriff, when we talk about, combining that with ARPA money for for some of those building proposals. My question is there anything identifiable in this year's budget that any funds from the homestead, because it cannot be used for generally occurring expenses, that could be covered if the board were to agree to take a portion of this, be it, we do know that for every, $100,000, it roughly lowers,
Right.
0.1.
Point zero.
0.1%. So that's my, that's the two things that I was looking into this week. So I don't know whether you want to wait. First, the homestead situation is really a question for Elka, what she feels could fall under the homestead.
I think the majority of one-time purchases we took out of the budget and used ARPA money for.
Were there items, because ARPA is under 6 categories, 6 very specific categories, if they don't fall into those categories, it can't be used.
Yeah, under general, provisions for general fund services, for revenue loss, you can.
It's a pretty broad, it's a very broad category. It's the most sort of like the catch-all.
That's where most of our capital is being, that we're,
True. No,
Spend money
capitalized,
on.
yes.
well, operating budget, we took advantage of the items like the asset management plan, consulting fees. There was an increase for line striping that was asked for, so we didn't increase our budget, we just increased that line. We didn't increase it, we just, that additional amount was
Transferred.
transferred over.
So there's nothing really in the budget that you could use the homestead money for that would be detrimental to the debt management plan.
Meaning?
You have a debt management plan to continue to reduce the debt.
Mhm.
If you were gonna use the homestead money, that it would have to go towards reducing the debt. So there's not much in the way of operating savings that the homestead money.
So things like guide rail, for instance, which are in capital budget, it's 6 of one, half dozen of another, and it does not help us in the operating budget. Swing and a miss for the homestead money.
You're not the first one to ask.
Yeah.
I feared that.
Probably
Nobody
why they
has-
set it up that way, so that the boards after them
Exactly why
couldn't
they
use
did
it to make themselves look good.
Oh, it's not to make us
No,
look
not
good.
meaning us.
What
Not
it would be
meaning like
is,
all the
it would
boards.
absolutely be to 8% inflation. You know, when you save it, I had a discussion with a former freeholder who said there's a rainy day fund, right? And you save it for a rainy day. I would say 8% inflation is an awfully pouring monsoon day. So that's worth asking. Okay, now as far as these
I'd
positions.
like to comment, if I could.
Go ahead.
The board set it up that way. I'm not saying we should do this, but this board can undo that
By resolution.
by resolution. So just throw that out there.
The only problem with that, and I think I spoke to some of you guys, as moving forward and getting rid of this jail, and it's in motion, by the way, the survey's already in the queue to do, and the appraisal and all that other stuff, like, there's 4.2, is that 4.2?
4.1.
And I thought there was more. I was asked the question, I thought there was more. But with inflation up, I mean, I just don't want that to affect projects. Getting rid of that jail is a big deal, as everybody knows. And I'm pretty sure last time we asked, everybody was on board with that. The RFP that went out there is super, super high with inflation. It's I don't even want to bring it up. Hopefully those proposals come back soon and we'll see where we're at. But ARPA money is dwindling down. I believe there's around 6 million plus or minus left.
Yes,
There's some projects that we have earmarked that we haven't pulled the trigger on. Jail being one of them. There's a building that I've talked to some of you guys about that might be coming up that would be very, very good for the Board of Elections. It's all trickled down to renting space that we rent at the Cochran building and our buildings that are dilapidated as the prosecutor's office is. So just think about using that homestead money or changing, how we use that. That's to me, like you said, Dawn, and not to say it was a bad idea or it is a bad idea. That rainy day, it's coming. It's coming.
Oh,
And
it's-
that rain might actually pour through that prosecutor's roof
True.
into the basement, because it has. So I just want to put that 2 cents in. Sorry to
Sure.
interrupt you. Is there anything you have more?
No, you know, again, the lady that had come and spoke earlier at the meeting about the library, I know there's certain, maybe individuals on the board who don't have an affinity for libraries like I do, but, you know, we definitely have differing views on that. That was a project that we scrapped, because when we talked about needs versus wants, we looked at, you know, a refurbished library, and I'm not in any way saying not making the current library ADA compliant. Just because we're grandfathered, just because we don't have to, doesn't mean we shouldn't. So, you know, there's a big difference between, you know, needs versus wants. I think, I agree with saying that because we did pass on the library project, because the renovation in this brand new sparkly library that's a walking library in the center of Newton sounds fabulous. Just like when I was on the board in Franklin and everybody wanted a walking path and a dog park, and isn't that delightful? But at the end of the day, it's a want, it's not a need. So I understand what you're saying about the need for keeping the money intact, but you know, I wouldn't be 100% diametrically opposed to a small portion of it used for offset, for homestead via resolution, and that's all. I'll just leave it at that. Now, you know, before I get into specific merging questions that I had regarding in the engineering department between those positions, I'm gonna just hold off because I don't want to be redundant or repeat or steal the thunder of the two gentlemen who worked specifically on that piece. I'd like to hear what they have to say about it.
Perfect. Mr. Hayden, you're up.
I'm up. So, one of the things Herb and I did is we met with the engineering department. As we know, they use consultants. Consultants cost a lot more money than any of the individual employees. So we did some math at removing some consultants and hiring some full-time employees and bringing up the pay rate, and we came up with a savings of $350,000. Now, couple that with the $50,000 Herb found, and I believe there was $200,000 the sheriff found.
Yeah, that was already.
It's already in there?
That was already in,
So,
we'll wait.
Okay, so, I mean, we're making progress. At the current 1.48 increase in the budget, what is the tax burden to the taxpayer now? What did you say it was?
Tax burden,
Yeah, is it increase or decrease?
it's $24 to the taxpayer, even though it's a tax rate.
It's a tax rate decrease, but it's gonna be an extra 24. Okay, all right, so,
Can you explain specifically when you said the 350? What is the configuration?
so what happens is the consultants cost you about $320,000 per consultant. It's basically a temp service. They hire, you know, somebody like me retires and I get hired by a consulting firm and then they'll put me in a place like this. That's how that works. And we use these to fill spots when we don't have,
No, I know all that because I've been here. I know that.
okay?
My question is, which specific positions are you saying, and budgetarily,
So like,
compared to what we spent versus?
I think
we
what
will
she's
do?
asking, are we eliminating positions, which we are not doing? Is that-
well, we are eliminating a couple of them, that was my understanding. We're not filling them all right now.
Off of this paper.
Right, so we would be filling the traffic engineer and the principal engineer for now. Again, we have a lot of people that have left.
So I believe what we're doing is taking it out of the capital, moving
Correct.
them to capital. So what happens is their salaries right now come out of our regular budget. So what we do is because we are bonding, and let's take.
And remember, we're bonding those consultants
Right.
out of that, so this would be a saving.
Right. So in other words, let's say we have two projects and we hire a consultant at $300,000, and they're going to review a project. So for every major project, pass those papers out with the engineering. And there's projects listed on there. So for every two projects, for example, let's hypothetically say it's $300,000 for review. So if you have 5 projects, that's what, $100.5 million, correct? 5 projects.
Right.
So if we hire employees, and I thought that we were going to hire 3 or 4 employees at about $300,000, you now are not paying the consulting fees because you have the people in the engineering department doing those inspections and reviews. So therefore, you're saving their salaries out of our budget, and we're reducing the impact on our capital our capital program, because we can reduce that that $1 million. I'm just rounding figures, folks.
So what would happen is, the salaries would be at 95, the fringe would be at 47. The total combined for the two salaries would be 200.
Bill, sorry to interrupt.
All right.
Just, I know I talk fast a lot too, but I just want to write some of these numbers down. 'cause,
Okay.
You know what I mean? So just start again. Traffic engineer, 90, or they're both around 95?
They're both around 95,
Okay,
correct.
95,
And then the
Okay,
fringe would
salary.
be, fringe benefits are,
Traffic engineer is 78,280.
well, that's the problem. Part of the problem with, the reason we are consulting these jobs out are, we're not paying enough to get people to take those jobs.
correct.
So you're
so-
saying these would be bumped, the
We would have to
principal
reopen
engineer
it, bump them,
and the
get them in.
traffic
Correct.
engineer would be bumped up roughly in 17 grand each position,
Yeah.
up to 95.
All right, so
Which is competitive.
I'm gonna
Well,
call
almost
that, I'm gonna,
competitive.
and I'm sure Bill's agreed, like he came up with that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Bill Copeland on that.
No, well, yeah.
I'm
he-
talking to you for.
No, right. So, Bill, we all sat down with Bill.
Right. So 95 is the proposed, okay. And then insurance is,
Right, so the total is 142,8 for.
And you have some
But
existing
140.
employees that would have to be raised up,
Right.
just so that you're
That's-
aware of that.
that's what you just said.
Yeah,
correct?
okay,
All
okay.
right, so if I'm hearing you right, you're proposing to bump those two up, getting rid of the other two.
Correct.
Or pausing, so the civil engineer training.
Yeah, let's call it
to
pause. I
training,
like that.
Paused, and the supervising engineer, paused. To be revisited in the 2024 year.
Right.
To see how they're progressing.
Or later.
And, Bill, like, what'd he say? Like,
He could live with that.
He's got nobody now, so he's.
I mean,
either
he's gonna have people beholden to him. It's a completely different realm when you have the consultant as opposed to the in-house.
oh, I've been preaching this for 2 years.
So, I mean-
I think my analogy was the bridge in Frankfurt, that, you know, we saved $650,000 by doing an in-house bridge. Imagine doing 2 and 3 a year like we used to, and that's where I want to be back at.
Right.
So, I can agree with what you're saying. You know, listen, I could compromise for sure. I just, sooner or later, I think we'll, once this ball gets rolling and we can actually hire people that, you know, the people who actually do this bridge work, since we gave a good raise to our DPW workers, we're gonna need it sooner or later. As for now, I tend to agree with you. So we're at about $300,000 in there.
350,000.
Well,
Where's the 50?
48 times 2 is
Oh, no, I mean, the total savings, right. Right.
300.
Yeah.
Paid the consultant fees
Where's the
out.
50 from?
Yeah, we're,
No, once hired, overall savings in capital is 354.
I thought you said 148 per person
You said
total.
142.
142,8 per
Okay.
person,
Okay.
two positions, 285,000. Consultant typically covers 2 projects per year, is 320,000 per. 2 consultants are 640,000.
Well, can you consider that a savings? Because until we hire somebody, we're gonna have to pay for that. You know what I mean? So if their job comes up, we have a bridge, we got a grant for, no one came to the plate to you know, be an
I think if we get
engineer.
them up, we'll get the people. And
Well,
Bill
we
feels.
can't go with think. That's like going with a grant, though. I'm not trying to belittle your idea. I do like your idea. It's a good idea. What I'm saying to you is, like a grant, we can't count on that grant. till
No, I know we
get
can't count on the grant.
So if we have a job that comes up, a bridge comes up, and we don't have the people, guess what? We still gotta come up with that money. So it's not a savings yet. It could be for next year. We just can't, you can't count on it, is all I'm saying.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's a good start, and I'm with you, and
Well, we're trying to get it down under the 148 here. You know, I'd like it at 0, but I don't know that we can get to 0. Can we get to 1.2 something? Which I'd kind of be okay with. We
I
could do
could-
that if we do this.
I'm not opposed to your idea.
Alright.
I'm not, I just don't want you to count.
people to apply.
No, that's why we had to bump it
I
up.
just don't want you to count on it. You understand my point, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, if we can't, like, maybe, I think that's a good number, salary-wise. I think that's a good.
The one thing that was concerning is I don't know how we're going to work it with the consultants. I would imagine if they're not needed, we can let them go, and that's how we write them in ours. I would hope we do that here.
You know that answer? I'm sorry?
That's something we discussed, that I don't know about the contracts.
We'd have to go back to
Oh,
each
if we're
one
stuck with them, you're saying.
How we
right?
award.
Yeah, and I mean, like, so I have 2 working for me now, at will.
We can review that. It's all about how we awarded it.
I think it's all in
also
drive
how
and
involved they
specs.
already are in the project. If you want two projects a year. I mean, it's like a 6-month period, so.
So they go in 6-month intervals
Well,
by
pretty much a
contract?
project,
Is 6
Bill
months.
said, is
In 6 months.
of engineering and
Okay.
consulting costs.
So we
That's why
would
they're saying
need
2 projects
to
a
know
year.
where they're at in that 6-month.
Yeah.
And
Cycle.
prorate it if they go that route. I don't know if you can do that. That's a good
I don't know,
question.
we just gotta, don't know how we bid it, and we don't know how we awarded it.
If
We
I
gotta
would-
figure that out.
Right, like if you're awarded that project, I mean, I think our last one, if I remember correctly, it was $167,000, and you kind of bought that for the engineer.
Well, yeah, because it was a lot lower than what we've been paying consultants, and it's a brand-new engineering crew that wanted a chance to get into the business. And I said, wait a minute, if we had our own engineer, what could that engineer take? And Bill's math before was about one full-time engineer is about $1 million worth of engineering consulting work a year.
Right.
That's the ratio.
So just back to your idea, Bill, just for now, in our heads, let's say we're at 285
Okay.
with the 2 jobs. I just don't wanna count that, not having to pay that, engineering consultant. Does that make sense for now, for at least now? Herb, does that make sense at least for now?
Explain it again.
So basically what I'm saying is, if we get rid of the 2 jobs, or pause the jobs, let me reframe, pause those 2 jobs,
Yeah.
bump up these 2, the traffic engineer, principal engineer to 95, it's 142,000 by times 2, which puts us at 284,000. That's the savings that we have right now. I don't wanna use the other, I forgot what Bill said, the extra money for the consultant engineering firm, because we don't have those people.
Well,
And if a bridge comes up, because we have a grant, we have to get it done, because that's how grants work, right? Because we're having a problem here in Sparta, on our Sparta Bridge, then we can't count on that. That money, you can't count on it.
so
Act like it's a grant.
here's my concern.
Hmm?
My concern is if you want to put those 2 positions in the capital program now, that's where that money should come from, because, and if we're still using these consultants, is there a major impact by doing that? Because if we can get rid of these consultants
Oh, you wanna-
and the
okay.
people,
Okay.
they
Yeah.
come,
Okay.
the money's coming out of here, we don't have it in the budget. If they don't come, you still have that program.
Okay.
And if they come, those things disappear. Might not disappear
And-
immediately, but they disappear.
So basically, if we don't hire the people you just want to pull out of capital, we can do that. We can pull that consultant out of capital, and then we'd be saving the money in capital. That's not affecting our budget, our operating. Right? That's not-
Yeah.
Ray, we
Pay for
didn't
that
ask you a
operating.
question, did we? Go ahead.
I'll wait till you ask me a question.
Go ahead. Now, to clarify that, make it all sense. She's very good at that.
Good.
Get your crayons out.
So, right now, your current budget for those 4 positions is 316,401. Right? That's what is on the spreadsheet that you
Correct.
handed out.
Mhm.
So, what was originally discussed was not even talking about the civil engineer training, but just the other 3 positions. And it was to take the traffic engineer and the principal engineer, up them, and hold off on this supervising engineer as for those priority list. So if we were going to take those positions, my suggestion, if this is the way the board wants to go and pay it out of capital, is to keep them in the current fund budget and put an offset to capital. So if we hire them and we use them, then you would pay yourself back to the capital fund from the capital ordinance. And if you don't hire them, you still have a consultant.
It's almost like you're double counting them in capital.
Yep.
And then if you don't need them, you can cancel the capital. The timing of capital is delayed until that actually ends up in a debt instrument. So even if you budget it in capital, it doesn't necessarily get spent right away. So it's almost like you're budgeting more in capital than you need in case the operation doesn't come through.
Okay.
Got it.
So
Now-
now, can we take
More
the,
capital, less in operating,
I have a-
at a point later, down the road, you can cancel that capital. If you don't need it because you hired your salary.
All right.
engineer.
So then my next question, just to go back to what Bill said, so if we do basically what you just said, where are we at with the budget right now?
Oh, wait, there's a question in that. So if we take that amount, then we are in essence removing the civil engineer trainee at 64,402 goes bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.
Then the supervising engineer at 95 really ends up being 65 going bye-bye, or 60, because we are taking the other 17.5 to put into those other two positions. They were looking at about 125,000 from that line being taken out. Just want to clarify, is that correct?
I would be taking 364 out.
The two other engineers that are
Right.
getting hooked up are now gonna move to capital,
Right.
and the two that you.
But I'm saying, we're not budgeting, doing the double budget or whatnot. Those other two positions,
Or paused?
Gone, right.
that's,
Paused.
that's.
Pause,
All right, we're
pause,
saying
sorry, my
paused.
bad.
All right, paused. That's what I want to clarify, that in no way is being rolled into the other, those
Okay.
two positions.
No, those positions.
Will be on
will
hold.
a fresh start and a new budget request next year for
Okay.
those additional positions.
Okay.
Thank you.
So at this point, they're not budgeted.
So
Okay.
that,
Next year, it's a new request for those.
understood. So that brings us down to 316, correct? Is that what you said?
Brings down to 60.
Well, and then just, can you do that math for me?
Of
48
course.
minus 0.3, so 1.18.
Carry the
1.18.
1.18.
Can we find anything to get us to 1?
0.9.
Any takers on the
0.99.
homestead?
0.9 would be better.
1.18. I can live with that. I actually appreciate that. Because like I said, having those engineers and paying that low, that's why they haven't been in the door. So,
The only other thing I can bring up is some of these titles, we really need to go through and see if we really need them. I know we need the road department guys, we desperately need them. I know some of the buildings and grounds positions need to be filled. But some of them, do we really need all of the vacancies? That's gotta be looked at, because that could be a bigger saving.
You know, well, here's the thing too, I think, you know, we, how can I word this?
Okay.
Time's of the essence, and I think we need to take a closer look going forward through the next couple of years with this stuff. You know, you had an idea, I spoke to you earlier, about everybody needs to,
Have a portion of the budget.
no, well, I'm gonna actually
know,
recommend
department.
that going forward, we all sit.
What's that?
Going forward, we all sit together and have a budget meeting, as you probably did at your municipalities when you served
Yep.
there.
Yeah.
You know, there's no reason, I don't know why it even goes this way with subcommittee, maybe because it's a timing, you can't get off, I can't get off, whatever it may be, but if we sit down, even has to be on a Saturday, we bring everybody in, or whatever it may be, and we all hear, right? It's not two people just coming up with the budget. This would stop, you know, and don't take this the wrong way, you, Elka, going over this repetitively, and Ron, and Christina, and Ray, and having them come here, we all hash it out at
One time.
one time for the most part, right? Because we're always gonna have to come back, and then we're all on the same page.
And I
You
agree, because Elka's been at how many with me? She's got a job to do, and now she's
Absolutely.
sitting.
Absolutely, so basically what I'm
You're
proposing.
talking about when we do it this next year?
In the fall.
Mhm, yeah.
I think Bill had brought something up where, you know, we are liaisons to different departments. Maybe what we want to do is sit with them first. We're kind of off track, we should deal with this budget, but maybe sit with them and go through that budget.
And then meet
And really
together.
kind of do that, and then bring everybody in. And so you've kind of like looked at that, and, because
It's not a bad idea, right? Because if you're, you know, dealing with social services and they say, hey, listen, this is why we need it,
Yeah.
then you'd be able to explain more to it. It's kind of the same thing as they do here, but not a bad idea. I just think as a whole, we need to be together.
Yeah.
This two people, you know, we have to advertise it. Okay, we advertise it. If people want to come, they got
They
nothing to
come,
hide.
right.
They come.
Saturday,
Right?
we're on a
They
Saturday.
got nothing to hide, trust me.
We can have our smaller meetings first, you know.
Or we could do them on Saturday, like you said.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. All right,
Just
so moving forward,
Moving
where
forward,
are
I
we
think
at?
that's something that we should look at. So we're at 1.8,
Question, not
No,
1.8.
1.18.
1.8,
My
sorry.
question was on this sheet, prosecutor's office has legal secretary, keyboarding clerk 1, keyboarding clerk 2, assistant prosecutor, county investigator. One of those keyboarding clerks. Secretary and 2 keyboarding clerks? can we remove a keyboarding clerk?
Okay, I mean, these are all, I
There are
don't,
current vacancies, I
Or
looked
these-
up the other day,
these are, and that's all
and
full-time.
it's a moving target.
Yeah,
That's
because
all
some of these are
full-time, right?
coming off the DPW. We hired 2 DPW guys today,
Those are
so.
full-time positions that I believe they the prosecutor, assistant prosecutors. I don't know what those specific jobs are.
And these are open, and how long have they been vacant? And is
Those
it
haven't been vacant since last year.
since last June?
No,
Last
last year
year.
at some point. before
Last year
they
at some
did.
point?
Are these reps, non-reps?
They're represented.
CWA.
So going back to the CWA, and I know everybody wants to start picking, we get rid of these, get rid of these. You know, we haven't given anything a chance, you know, they finally got their money, I think on St. Patrick's Day was their first pay, is that correct?
They got the rest of it.
Retro, so just a tad bit hypocritical, don't take that the wrong way of, all right, we just gave a very big raise that probably hasn't been seen in 15 years, and we're not even gonna give it a chance to get those people in. You know what I mean?
I do, but when we're looking for position redundancies and things that have been open and talking about,
But they were open at a lower wage.
okay, so now they're at 32,000 and 35,000.
Mm-hmm.
And what were they prior?
On average, 5.89% lower. And again, I'm not saying it's breaking the bank, but I just, again, my word is my word, we're gonna give as much as possible, as everybody else's was, bring people in, sustain people here, and we haven't even let that happen yet.
I kind of would see if we could do a little bit of reduction in force.
Well,
I understand we gave the raise, but
And again, I'm not opposed to looking at this through the next year and or two. We did something to get people back in here, and we're not even gonna give it a shot.
No, it's not giving it a shot. They have a legal secretary, a keyboarding clerk, and 2 keyboarding clerks
Mhm.
as vacant right now. Who's doing those positions now? Who's covering that
Well, it
work
might be
now?
like doubling up on work and overworked.
And what's the
Ready
overtime?
to throw the towel in and move on.
Is there I mean, this is late, guys, it is, but is there, if we don't have these people, maybe there's overtime, which is actually accumulating to a ton of more money. That's all.
if I could.
Sure.
Don had brought up a point, and through the years I've looked at this homestead money, and you're looking at about what is it, 100,000?
We have $4,114,500.
If you took 100,000 out of that, that would bring you down to, what, 1%?
almost one.
And so I see people in the audience, and I think that money's been sitting there forever. I mean, it takes a resolution to take it out. Go ahead.
It has, and it's gonna take a resolution to take it out, which we could probably do at our next meeting, if that's where we're gonna go. Just keep in mind, if we don't have money to put this jail together, we're stuck, or the corrections officer's building, we're stuck with that jail and those prosecutor's office. Again, I bring this up a lot of times.
How do we not
It's
have the money?
$179, it's $179,000 a year
Ex-
to maintain those buildings.
Explain to me how we suddenly don't have the money to do the new holding building.
Because it came in at $5 million was the RFP.
Okay.
Now, I don't think it's gonna get that high. That's just their build, that's the building for Board of Elections and the corrections officers. That doesn't touch the prosecutor's office. That is horrible. It's just in really, really bad shape.
Horrible mold issue.
Oh, it's
awful.
it's bad. It's really bad. So what I'm saying, that doesn't touch any of that.
Correct.
The problem, as somebody said earlier, I think it was even Dawn, we inherited a lot of these problems because a lot of our buildings weren't maintained. We have a great facilities guy. He is phenomenal. You can't even get mad at the guy. He's so good. But, we need to address this stuff. And I would rather go with Dawn's idea than touch that homestead money. That's just me personally. That'd be a shame, a crying shame if we can't do what we want to do with these facilities because we don't have the money. ARPA money's running lean. It's running lean, like I said, $6 million.
Correct me if I'm wrong, if we
Get down.
fund 100,000 out of homestead money this year, it's fully funded in OEA next year. So you're starting 100 grand in the hole already.
Right.
So what you do on a one-time shot here out of that type of money, you gotta fund fully next year. So now we're at our original budget request, predictively, because of healthcare, because of pensions that increases we don't know of, we were already well above 3% at what we know about today for next year. So
Also, I do want to add, and I know we talk about needs, wants, et cetera, but we have been the shame of the state when it comes to the Arts and Heritage Council. We fund them at $7,500 a year. The next lowest county is Salem County at $15,000 a year, and it only goes up from there. So we are 21 out of 21 counties. They don't ask for anything. And what they are trying to do is have, and I told them not in this budget per se, it's not coming out of operations at all. They ask for nothing. But I did include for our next ARPA meeting for some of their projects where they get out into the community and serve children and, you know, combine the historical projects with the art projects, especially in our more rural areas like Montague. They have plans for that, and I want to be able to stand by my word where I'm the liaison to something that we have kicked the can down the road for as long as I've been here.
Date on the ARPA meeting.
Yeah.
That's what we're
So,
waiting on.
again, what I'm saying is I can agree with what you're saying by not touching this because you're worried about the facilities and whatnot, but also we have a whole nother institution here that we think $7,500 is enough for everything they do for the county. So if we can all collectively agree to keep what I just said in mind, I can be more inclined to leave it at what we're discussing right now.
But the arts thing, that could clearly come out of ARPA money, correct?
It certainly can, but I'm not just talking about the $15,000
Hit.
small business grant
No, no,
for
no,
all
I'm
their
not talking about-
losses.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you, what's the
So,
number
well,
you're
I see what
proposing?
she's saying. She's saying if we
At a
find out
minimum,
out of ARPA this year,
$50,000
next,
for,
next year.
and again, they know that's not in perpetuity, it's a one-shot to fund their project.
But isn't that another whole conversation besides the budget? Because
It's separate, but I
Right.
think it's very important that we have this conversation here, because in my mind, if I am consistently acquiescing to all of these other things and everybody else's priorities, I want you to know that's a priority. You keep your word, I keep mine. So I just want the board to be aware of that.
Well, let me
Because
ask,
the library's poo-pooed, Arts and Heritage is poo-pooed, we have nothing but mental health problems going on, running rampant. You know, we can
There's
build all the
5 of them
buildings in the
sitting right here.
world, but let's please keep that in mind.
Understood.
you know what, can some of this funding come from Lorraine's budget?
What I was
with-
saying,
With the seniors and stuff like that, can we use some of that money?
I have grant money that's prioritizing socialization, interaction with seniors as a result of COVID and the isolation they've been facing to deter from mental health issues. If we can care programs for seniors, I could then fund it for social mental programs.
that's good to
So
know.
that's an option and
So
avenue
that's
as well.
an option to meet the needs that you were doing and also meet our needs for something for our seniors
True.
to do.
So that's
So
one
to-
segment.
Good call.
Good, thank you.
Good idea.
So, can we just take a 5-minute recess, just ponder everything that we just discussed, and then we'll just come back and then hash out a couple more things and maybe get some more, is that all right?
Just-
All right.
Ask for motion for
Can I get a-
recess.
Can I get a motion for a
Adjournment?
5?
No.
No.
recess.
So
moved.
Recess.
Oh, or 5-minute recess? All in favor?
Adjournment.
Aye.
5 minutes.
Aye.
5 minutes.
5 minutes, thank God.
And that clock is an hour off.
Wait,
That is
who-
not daylight
Who,
savings.
who was first and who was second? I apologize.
Herb was first, Bill was
We need a motion.
All right, can I get a motion to return to our workshop meeting?
So moved.
Commissioner Hayden, can I have a second?
Second?
Commissioner Fantasia, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, carried.
Where's the pizza?
All right, so we're back in session. Everything that we said so far, Elka, is there anything before I ask for a motion, maybe moving forward, is there anything that we missed? Meaning, everything that we said, we're down to 1.18. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, correct? Meaning, if we agree on this right now and we introduce on the 12th, this is where we're at. Correct? We didn't miss anything?
The only thing that we haven't discussed is that this is going to be
Correct.
So
So where are we at?
if you have assumptions based on the union contracts and 2% on LD, which could be low considering inflation, estimating 8% on higher this year.
Can you just speak a little louder, please?
Sorry. I did estimates based on
Pardon me.
what our CWA contract was. And kind of took an average with the non-rep to come up with 4% increases for salaries, 2% on, 8% on insurance, 5% on pension. Next year's budget would be, you're looking at about a 6% increase. And we may not be able to do that with our caps, because you have a tax levy cap,
Mhm.
you have the 1977 cap, and you have the 2010 cap. And the we're right now in the 1977 cap, and that's the cap that we've been able to bank, cap bank, that we haven't used. But you're starting off with a much lower number, so depending on where we end up next year, we may not be able to even raise it up to that 6%, even if we wanted to, because there's not enough cap bank, because 2010 limits you to 2% except for certain exceptions.
And that goes back to the last 2 years, correct? At the county level?
Well, the cap bank you would lose your cap bank if you switch now to the 2010 cap, so you have to consider the caps. when
You
you're
have to
looking-
choose the lowest
Of the
cap.
two.
You don't get a choice. So if, when we do the calculation, it's complicated. If you end up that the 2010 cap is lower than the 77 cap, you have to use that cap, which means any banking you've done in the 77 cap is gone. So it would really restrict how much you can do in terms of appropriations, because you're now stuck in this cap and the bank. So if the operation would necessitate a 6% increase, but the cap only allows you to have a 4% increase, you would have to cut appropriations to get to that.
And if you didn't have fund balance or miscellaneous revenue, that's also going to limit what you can increase. So I just want to make sure you're all perfectly aware of that next year we can have a major problem if costs go up. The other option is we were talking about having committees or talking to different departments. There should be a meeting after we adopt this budget, as to what the priorities are of commissioners and where they see the county going, so that we can talk to, when we send out our budget information, we can give them directives as to what they need to be looking at, what they need to be considering. If there's an area that you feel that you think we should be cutting, that should be discussed amongst the commissioners, and then that would be relayed to the departments. Because absent that, you're gonna be in a really bad situation.
Well, absent that should have been going on the whole time, because we often get, the first round of budget meetings are a wish list. Every time it's a wish list, and it can come across as aimless with departments that aren't worked closely with by a commissioner, I find.
Yeah, there's changed, right? I think Ray pointed out a few meetings ago, inflation's always been around 1.5% to 2.5%. And traditionally, even before my time, and I know we've hit lows under 1, but it's always been 1.5% to 2.5%. Inflation's now at 8 and change, but we're still able to keep it low. Sooner or later, that's gonna wear out. We give good services here, and I'm proud of our services, as everybody is up here. We hate to cut them. So,
We may have to cut next year. That just may be the animal in front of us.
well, again, I think that's just what Elka's pointing out. We wanna be low here, but are we, and again, I'm not
We'll be slammed
reneging or
next year
anything
then.
by all means, but this was a concern that I had, I'll just speak for myself, I had, this is a 3 to 5 year budget. It's good to look pretty now. How are we gonna look in 3 years? So that's all. That's why I wanted to ask you, if you had anything else. Anybody else have any questions for Elka before we kinda?
Yes.
Where-
I have a question. When we look, again, because everybody's faced with the inflation, we look at the Tri-County area, right? So we have Sussex, we have Warren, we have Morris, we have even Hunterdon. Where are they landing in comparison to us with tax rate? Do you have that number, those figures?
We're lower.
We're what?
We're lower.
Lower?
Oh, absolutely.
So rate-wise,
So I have that Morris County tonight is up in their budget.
Okay.
They have a 4.5 or 5.45% increase in their levy.
In their levy, so
Which
amounts
is what
being,
we're comparing to the 1.18 that we're at right now.
okay,
Their tax rate is, their county tax rate is 5, based on step 5.
okay,
Warren County, their budget is calling for a 2.17% increase in their levy. And their tax rate is going down.
okay.
And then ours right now is at a 1.18 plus the new construction. And our levy is going down. I mean, our rate is
Rate's
going
going
down.
down.
the rate goes down almost 9%.
Where do we land in the relation, because I know they do a ranking of counties, where do we land by way of?
So, one of the ways that, the easiest way to compare is the average tax to an average homeowner in, or an average taxpayer, I should say, in the county. So Morris County is at, 1,282. Sussex County is at 1,548. And Warren County is at 1,670.
So we're between Morris and Warren. Warren's the high end, Morris is the lower end, Morris with more ratables, of course,
Yep.
and Sussex and Warren more rural.
And that's
Yeah, they don't update.
Yeah, they wouldn't update just yet. Thank you.
Bill, do you have something?
Last question, if we drop it down to the 1.19, where are we at to the taxpayer?
$16 on average.
So we're at
Probably
24.
right.
We're at,
Point-
were we at 24 before or 22?
24.
Mhm.
So,
So $13 as opposed to 24.
that can't be
How
right.
could that
That'd
be?
be right.
Yeah, that can't be right.
Right.
I don't think it's weighted that much.
is
Doing
right.
simple math, it should be around $20.
Is it the 24? Yeah, the 24 was on the prior number. Was it around on the
I
128?
thought it was 148.
Because if that was on the 2.5, it makes
Then,
sense.
then, yeah, right, I
If it
think
was
that
on the
might have been,
2.5, it makes sense.
that might have
right?
been what it was, right, I think that's what it was too. Because that doesn't make sense, the other one.
You know.
You want to do it now? Just these.
No,
We'll do it tomorrow,
no, I'll do it.
tonight?
Yeah, I'll be quick.
It's not a lot. I know, there's no clock to look at.
Time still goes on.
Oh, Joe steal it?
No, I took it down.
They sold it. That's,
No, I noticed it before.
wait, we're supposed to blame facilities, you said, right?
Even though we have, you know,
Everybody's got
I thought you took it off to your shop to fix it.
it's still not the same because I'm not supposed to look at my phone to see what time it is, but yours stays lit, so.
That was a $7 coffee. We're at $13, 2 coffees a year. Rachel, my taxes.
What, a $7 coffee?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
We ran out his numbers, it's $13.
It is
13.
13. So the average household.
And it's gonna go down in
The
some
fun-
homes and up
right.
in others.
What is
because
average,
they're-
just out of curiosity?
It's $1 a month, $1.10.
What- yeah.
$1.08. Good.
What is an
Say
average,
about that.
what is an average household?
One Starbucks coffee.
Hmm?
Not
As an
even.
average household, it
Huh?
varies.
If you want full.
$2.51.
Oh, my God, yeah.
So $1 a month? $1.10 a month.
It's right on you, bud. Oh,
Is that a clock?
Crackers.
okay.
With that being said, I appreciate
That everybody worked hard on this, because we did. I think next year, again, like I said, things have to change. Elka?
I have to ask one more question about,
Yes.
they can move forward with their budget.
So we discussed that, and what is 1.5 was like 17,000 or something?
Just under 18,000.
Right, and then it was 30 at
37.
1%, so we have to figure out what we're gonna allow them.
The current budget has another 2% increase for their fiscal year next year.
If we reduce.
Oh, that's right, because we're always a year behind.
Yeah.
right?
Right,
6
It's
months.
6
behind.
months.
Right.
6 months in arrears.
Right.
so
If you reduce it to
To
1%,
it's like.
it saves the 37,000 off this year's budget.
Right, so that's even more.
That wasn't included
No.
in this?
No,
The only problem with taking money away from the tech, it's changed so much since I was in school. And most of you guys have went to school here. And Jill, her kids went there. Like, it's a good school. Like, doesn't the governor do with enough hardships to the schools? And we're gonna do the same thing? Like, that's the biggest
we also
enrollment
had the
school.
superintendent give himself a nice raise.
Listen, I agree with you tenfold.
So,
Number one.
You know what, maybe if he lives within his means, that ends.
That's a 5-year contract, and getting rid of contracts is a tough thing to do.
I'm good with the 1% for them.
I just hate to punish the kids.
I don't
Again,
think we'll be
their-
punishing the kids, they're gonna have to,
They'd probably make it up in rates.
Their enrollment is up compared to any other school, as far as I know.
yeah,
Um,
I mean, there's a waiting list to get in.
yeah,
And kids turn down.
and kids
I
turn
don't
down.
accept it.
It's a big deal when they get accepted.
Yes.
I don't know about that. I mean, I'm good with what we have as a budget. I don't know if I want to affect the schools like that.
How much does that change things?
38,000.
Probably not a whole lot.
1 point.
Less than the.
It'd be $1.10 a
third.
month, it'd be $1.08 a month.
Anybody else have input on that one?
How many schools that we have, they've all lost how much money?
Oh, millions over the last.
Yeah, but that was because of the governor, it wasn't because of us.
Correct.
There's a huge difference.
Tens of them.
Yeah.
Tens of yes.
And the tech
Yeah.
State aid.
No, it was
county,
rescheduled.
municipalities and that. So the
No, it was,
Was
we had a
the-
proposed meeting and then they moved it.
They're not included in the
30th.
same, the tech schools are not funded under the same formula guidelines as all of the
We
other.
didn't have
public
to
schools.
defer.
It's different.
Yeah.
Right.
To speak to Bill's point, I understand Chris's point in saying that it's going to take away, but I understand Bill's point. We have been hearing grumblings out of that board, out of the teachers, out of parents, that they feel that.
I mean, they came in here.
That there should be another look at what their budgeting is. They have their own independent board of ed, right, that decides how to allocate the money in the contracts, but they are top-heavy.
And
I
we
don't
give
doubt
them the
that.
money without any
But by us
accountability.
doing that, again, by us cutting the money away is not without any further conversations, is not going to make them any less top-heavy this year. I think it requires a meeting and
Sends a
whoever is
message, though.
liaison to them is, but again, to what end with the pain that everybody's feeling now. So I understand what you're saying, Bill, I don't disagree with you. And I feel that it does warrant a further conversation because we frequently hear the top-heavy aspect of them.
And if we go to 1.5, we hurt them by 17,000. At least we send a message.
I think again, I don't wanna hurt the kids.
I don't wanna hurt
you
the
know,
kids either.
I think the bigger message is, I don't know, it doesn't matter. The liaison, we need to watch a little bit more on
I know.
everything that we do, including myself. Everybody just needs to watch a little bit more. Maybe back in the day that, when people aren't watching it, and even a year ago, things were a lot different. I think there's a totally different board in here now, and not to put down the board prior, but we're watching a lot more. And I think we just need to continue that and watch get a little bit more focused on some of the things that we're doing, and
No, we have to make a decision.
keep an eye.
That is
We're
the
here to
board.
do a job, and it takes 40 hours a week, and that's what we have to put in to make sure it's running, and if we're gonna get blamed for something, well, at least we knew about it.
There's been quite a history even trying to bridge the gap when I first came on and with her between the tech school and the college.
Oh,
For what could be
absolutely.
perceived as redundant services, so
Right.
that was a hurdle. I've always been on, as a college liaison and not the tech side,
And-
but there's a lot there that goes way beyond this meeting that we can
And I believe in the
discuss.
charter of one of them, it says they're supposed to work together, and they're not doing that.
That's something, Bill, too, that I think you and Herb are one, and Dawn even, right? Are you on the
Yeah.
college too, board?
College.
And so you three, we need to keep pushing them to work together and kind of go from there, and.
According to John, he's willing.
Yes, and listen, I was sat here at the budget, and Gus said the same thing.
Yeah, well,
I'm just passing along.
Very interesting how they were appearing to be
Oh,
on
hold
the
on
same
a second,
page.
just hold on, we're kind of getting off topic.
Yeah,
We
we
know
are.
what we have to do, so I don't know if you're proposing that, Bill. Do you have anything to say, Jill? You've been
Oh, I would
kinda
love
quiet.
to meet with the
No,
technical.
no, just
but-
about Bill's cutting that portion.
Oh, the 300?
Yeah, are you still on it, or are you,
Are we-
Bill, are you still,
are we-
like, pushing that, or like, are you good?
we're good with where we're at, with what we just did.
Yes.
We're
We
good
have
with
to
that.
tell them what what.
No,
the percentage is.
she's talking about the tax levy, right? the
Right,
tax-
so are we gonna tell them
Okay.
we're gonna cut? Are you still looking for them to cut, or are you just, we're gonna
Look,
be good?
vote on it
and-
the way, I think we should send some message. I know you say you think it'll hurt something,
$37,000 is going to hurt what? Going to lay somebody off?
Good.
or $16,000
Could be
if
an
we go to
after-school
1.5.
activity, it could be an activity that they have. I don't know, I don't sit on that board, I don't micromanage. All I know is that's the school that enrolls, you have to
with the parents.
get approved to go to that
So
school.
when do they have to know this?
Like, if that school is dropping, if
They
that was
needed to
school.
know like week
A week
before,
ago.
like a week ago.
So even if we upset something with the 1.5 and they come in here, we can throw it back on the tech that you guys took these great contract for
I
your.
think sending a letter to them and saying, the board's not happy with the 5-year contract. We don't get to be here for 5 years. Why do you?
I don't think that's kind of. I think the amount of money too.
He still gets his money though.
I'm just saying
At the end of
they
the day,
gave
he's
him
still
it.
getting his
I know, but
200.
they gave it to him. We think it's wrong. That's more my
And the
point.
board's appointed by us. So basically, we're saying, well, we appointed you. Let's hurt you because that's who we're hurting. This guy still gets his 200 grand. I don't know. I'm just saying. I think the letter does just as much as.
I don't think the letter does.
I don't like the word hurt, because I don't think we're here to hurt anyone.
I think we're trying
Well, I
to
don't
be
think
fiscally
physically.
responsible. There are people out there that are hurting. And the school's going to have to make some cuts like everybody else.
So I have a question for council, if I could. If we didn't make this decision today,
have to.
and one of us, or two of us, will go over and sit down with the financial people over there and say, well, if we took $37,000 from you, what's the impact of that? And then come back to say Christine, and they say, no. Can we do a straw poll or something? Or is there a way to say, okay, yeah, that's gonna be a bad thing and the world's coming to an end, or the world's
that's
not
what they're
gonna
gonna
come to an
say.
end? I mean,
Gus
can
is
you
already
kind of
marking.
do that, or is
I'll be
that-
honest, I'm fine with taking 37,000 away. But if the school board chooses to take it from the extracurricular activities, then that's on them. You know, they can look to find cuts where it doesn't affect the
They
children.
cannot take it from the current contracts, though, is the problem. It's already been done. That is the only thing that gives me pause, because we know where we want it to come from. It cannot legally come from that at this point.
Right.
So that's my only concern.
So it would have to be an activity, it'd have to be something that.
It'd have to be an ancillary program.
Programs, right, because
at
the
this
teachers
point.
are under contract, right?
A class trip, right?
Or it could affect for next year. I mean,
Busing.
the RIFs, I mean, by May 15th, every public school employee needs to be notified whether they're being rehired or not. It could be removing a teacher, a one-on-one aide, any of those things that could possibly cover that. But we know that it won't hurt, and
Right.
that's
The guy with the
administration.
contract, right?
And that's.
Elko, would it affect the next year contract, or next year of the school? Right?
Half this year.
Because it's already half this year. Would go into next year,
1% increase, and that would be set through
half of next year.
And then they would ask for whatever increase next year.
So they can start it from the lower.
So right now, if you had 1%, if you're saying they can only raise it 1%, then really they're increasing 1.5% to get two.
Right, half the year.
Two throughout the year, one
Right.
throughout the other. And then next year, if you agree to 2% next, for the following year, then it would be 1.5 again, because it would be
Still in this, in our fiscal year.
Yeah, their budget is, obviously,
it's-
it
it's
runs
odd.
its opposite of
Right.
school budgets.
Take a poll on what you guys wanna do. Look, I know where I'm at. If you guys want, and I get overridden, I get overridden, dude. I don't care. That's how this works.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, I guess, I don't know even how to approach that. We do a straw poll, I ask each and
Just
every
a
one where we're at.
Motion to-
advise the tech school of a reduced tax levy
In the amount of.
in the amount of.
In the amount of, what are you proposing, Bill? You wanna take point, you wanna make it, it's at 2, we wanna go to.
Let's go to 1.5.
The motion.
1.5?
Yeah.
Go ahead, make that motion.
Are we,
Hey, well, is everybody
where are
comfortable
we
with
at
that?
with this budget now? Are we
No,
ready
that's-
to
that's like
move the
16.
budget forward?
It's
I'm
1%
sorry, Herb, say
for
again?
I have no
37,000.
idea, I want to know clearly.
only
So 16,000.
What we are voting on. Are we voting on the
What
budget?
Bill's gonna propose is they're asking for 2%. We have to give them an answer, so he's proposing to knock it down to 1.5.
So my question,
Right.
I have a
But
question.
programs,
Let me
that's
ask my
less.
question.
Yeah,
Why are we not doing the budget first?
because it's gonna affect our budget.
It'll be.
Okay, so if we go to 1.5 they can do, how does that impact the budget? What's the number on the budget?
Take just under 19.
No, what's the, we're at 1.8.
It's gonna be 1.7.
It'll be, yeah, it'll be 1.17. It's not gonna change
It's
that
not
a
gonna
lot.
do
Okay,
anything.
just- I want to know where we're at.
immaterial.
Yeah, like you said, it'll be 2 cents on the,
Oh, okay.
all right, so the point is, what do we want? Just, let's do a poll.
So we go from 1.18 to 1.
So just make that.
On 7.
Huh?
So, you're just gonna make a motion?
Is everybody cool with 1.5?
Well, you made the motion,
Yes.
I didn't make it yet.
okay, well,
That's kinda how we're gonna go with it.
All
and
right,
you'll
so
find out.
Somebody-
I'd like to make a motion that we only increase their budget by 1.5% over at VOTAC. Do I have anybody to second that?
Have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes, is that all in favor? Is that a roll call?
It's a roll call.
We'll do a roll call.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner, Director Carney,
No.
Commissioner Fantasia,
Yes.
Commissioner Hayden,
Yes?
Commissioner Space,
No.
Deputy Director Yardley.
Yes.
Okay.
So the next question, the budget
budget.
Okay.
$1.17.
So now,
Send another message there.
yeah.
I know. It's okay.
Four positions.
Listen.
Hold on, Bill and Jill, I can't hear at
Oh,
all.
yeah, sorry.
And she talks very low, so, go ahead.
Yell like
Just
you're yelling.
louder when
Yeah.
someone's talking, I just
Pretend
can't
you're
hear at all.
talking to me and you're yelling at me. Go ahead.
Go ahead, so say again, please.
So, the 1.48 is where we started the meeting,
Yes.
and what I have written down is that we're taking the 316,401 from the engineering department, vacant positions, all four of them, and we're eliminating them from the operating budget. Basically, we'll be offsetting capital for those two positions,
Got a higher number,
try
yeah.
to get a higher rate for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're reducing the tech school for that second half of the year to get a 1.5% increase, saving another 18,939.
Mm-hmm,
And that's the cuts that we've made.
correct.
And where we're at then?
And that brings us somewhere around 1.17.
1.17.
1.1.
1.7.
I think everybody can,
222.
So, we'll stay with 1.18, just, I mean, if it comes in a
When we
point one.
introduce the budget,
You will
we'll
know.
know that exactly.
Well, we know where we're at. So with that being said, I would like to make a motion that we go ahead and introduce the budget at our April 12th meeting.
So moved.
All right?
second. Okay.
Did you finish your motion?
No, I was,
No.
I made,
No, wait.
basically, I made the motion, I was holding my breath.
All right, start the motion over again.
I make,
Go ahead.
I make the
Go ahead, go.
motion, I'm moving this. Jill's my second. Any discussion, any further discussion?
What, repeat the motion, please.
Good luck with that.
Okay. The motion is to introduce the budget at our next meeting, which is April 12th, at 1.18, we're gonna go with, okay? That's basic, we're up maybe 1.17, to introduce the budget April 12th at our next meeting. Do I have a second? Jill?
Oh, yes.
Wait, who's the first?
I am the first.
You're the
I'm
first.
second.
No, Jill's the first.
I am the first.
No, no, no.
Who wants the first?
I am
So
the
Ronnie's
first.
second.
Jill is the second. Is there, now we understand,
Yeah.
is there any other discussion? Okay, roll call.
Director Carney,
Yes.
Commissioner Fantasia.
Yes.
Commissioner Hayden,
Yes.
Commissioner Space.
Yes.
Deputy Director Yardley.
Yes.
Oh,
We were gonna be like,
Man, it's gonna be
All right.
fire tonight.
So, and the capital budget is fine the way it was presented.
Okay.
yes.
We're all in agreement
Well,
the
good with
capital
that?
budget?
Right,
Yes.
okay,
Done.
good.
You want to call on, you want a motion on that as well?
Yes, let's,
Well, it doesn't, no, it
That
doesn't matter,
wasn't a
because she's
point of
gonna
contention.
introduce,
No, okay.
she's gonna introduce.
Okay.
So, all right, moving forward, personnel, there is none. 18, administrative report.
None.
19, council, or county council report.
I have several things for executive session, I'm just kidding.
I was like, wow, Katie got it.
Ooh, everybody's a jokester.
Okay.
I thought I had all the jokes. Number 20, unfinished business. New business, I already went over that with Jeff Parrott's office. 22 is a public session from the floor. This public session is for those wishing to make general comments of 3 minutes or less on non-agenda topics. Please line up at the microphone, state your name, municipality, and municipality for the record. A motion to open the floor for public comment.
Make it.
Commissioner Hayden, or, I'm sorry,
Whoa.
Yardley, Commissioner
tired.
Fantasia,
Second.
seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carries.
Anybody?
Anybody?
Come on.
Stay there.
Really, everybody's a jokester tonight. Okay. Motion to close the floor to public, and return to regular business.
So moved.
Commissioner Hayden, seconds by Commissioner Yardley. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? Carries. All right, reminders, there are none. 24 is adjournment. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Commissioner Hayden, have a second.
second.
Commissioner Fantasia, any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained, carries. Meeting is adjourned at 8:55.